AI has basically shown us that sperm whale clicks look much more similar to human language than we thought before we had this incredible tool to study it in more detail.
Using AI to translate animal voices is the singular most important use of artificial intelligence in our lifetime.
Hey, I'm Ikra, and this is What's in the World from the BBC World Service. Today we're going to chat about something that I just know some of you guys have thought about before too. It's been on our team's mind as well. Can we talk to animals? And also, why are some people saying AI can help us out in this area with the comms too? And before we get into it, let's hear from someone who works with animals every day.
Hi, I'm Heyhan Shin. I am a veterinarian based in Boston, Massachusetts. I think if our patients could speak to us, it would actually make our jobs a lot easier. There are plenty of times where we as veterinarians and our patient owners have been like, I wish our animals could just speak to us and tell us what was wrong.
Okay, so let's get into it now with the BBC's Caroline Steele. She's right here right now. Hey, Caroline.
Hello.
Yeah, so good to have you back. So we're going to find out about how AI is being used for animal communication in a bit. But before that, I wanted to talk about how animals are communicating in the first place. How are they chatting?
So many different animals do different things. This just makes me think of my cat, Ollie, who I'm obsessed with. He's a gorgeous tabby cat. And I can't talk to him, but I really do feel like I can understand what his meows are asking for. So like he has a particular meow for feed me, he has a particular meow for let me out, a meow for like I'm unhappy when I put him in a crate to take him to a vet. But none of that's science. Scientists have actually studied what animals are communicating to each other when they make noises. So kind of the most obvious one is mating calls. So animals like birds will make beautiful songs and try and attract a mate, and birds will pick mates based on how much they like each other's songs. There are also alarm calls, which birds do a lot, which are basically warnings to other birds about what's going on around them. There's a nice example of the black-capped chickadee, which has an alarm call that kind of gives you information about what the predator is. So if the predator is more threatening, it basically adds chirps into the call. So it might, for a hawk, be like, okay, I'm going to do a bird impersonation now.
Can you please do it?
It might be like, cheep, 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 cheep for a hawk. But then if it's something not as threatening from a predator point of view, it might just go like cheep, 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 rather than all these extra cheeps. And animals don't gossip in the way that humans do. But there is an interesting example of vervet monkeys basically spreading information through a group really quickly.
Oh.
So if there's conflict between two monkeys, a monkey will kind of like call out, and basically scientists call it a recruitment call, saying, hey, quick, come help me, there's a fight, I need backup, come join my team. And by listening to that call, other monkeys understand what conflict has happened and between who. So this kind of information about who's upset who's done what, spreads throughout the group really quickly. So in a way, that is a kind of gossiping, but with a very specific purpose. So yeah, animals communicate in like much more complex ways than I think we kind of assume.
Yeah, I love that. I want to know what the monkeys are gossiping about.
Yeah.
How has our understanding of animal communication changed throughout the years?
So when we first sort of analysed animal noises, we thought that they were just kind of emotions spilling out. But everything sort of changed in the 50s through to the 80s, where basically after World War II, microphone technology massively improved, and suddenly we could record animals, and essentially we could play back these recordings to other members of the species and see how they respond. And then more recently, everything has changed again with AI, because suddenly we can analyze huge data sets of audio so much faster than just humans could. And we can spot complex patterns using AI that we humans would probably miss.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about AI's use in all this. People are trying to use AI to talk to animals, right?
Yeah, my sort of favourite example is the SETI project, which stands for the Cetacean Translation Initiative, where scientists are studying a big group of sperm whales in the Caribbean.
Okay, so Caroline, let's pause right there for a second because we have a clip from someone from the SETI project. So let's have a listen.
We are a large-scale interspecies communication initiative working to use advanced robotics and artificial intelligence to translate the communication system of sperm whales. We think that using AI to translate animal voices is the singular most important use of artificial intelligence in our lifetime.
I love sperm whales, and we've been studying them for a long time and studying the sounds that they make. So they produce clicks to communicate with each other and to hunt. And we had been studying these clicks and basically breaking them down as humans into what we call coders, which are basically kind of groups of patterns of clicks. So a coder might just be like click, 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 click. That could be a coder. And then we've got AI involved now, where basically we now have thousands of hours of audio from these sperm whales and sort of have said to AI, right, okay, look for patterns. And AI has found coders like we did. We found 21 coders. AI has now found 156 coders. So it's basically spotted far more kind of repeating patterns than humans were able to, which is pretty exciting. AI has also identified things like the speed and tempo of coders can change. So some whales go like click, 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 but then later they might go click, 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 which is something we hadn't picked up on. And we don't know that this is the case, but maybe that's a different way of saying the same thing. So maybe it's like the difference between me going to you, what? Or like, what? So it could be something like that.
Yeah.
And then AI has also split up coders into smaller groups, which scientists are kind of comparing to the phonetic alphabet in humans. So these kind of smaller groups that don't mean anything on their own, but add together potentially to create meaning. So it's kind of, AI has basically shown us that sperm whale clicks look much more similar to human language than we thought before we had this incredible tool to study it in more detail.
And so is this a new thing, or when did it start?
Well, we've been kind of using computers to understand animal calls for a long time. A lot changed in the 2000s when basically we could record things digitally. So suddenly we could record thousands of hours of animal calls, which we couldn't do before. And we've been using computers to analyze them. And by that, I just basically mean take the sounds out of potentially thousands of hours of silence, which would take scientists a really long time. But a big shift happened in about 2015 when we started using AI. So not that long ago, we're looking at about 10 years ago. So not only can AI find the noises in thousands of hours of silence, but it can also take calls out of noise. So where maybe we wouldn't have heard a whale call over the sound of an engine, and AI can find that call, which is quite exciting. Also, what I think is really exciting is AI can analyze animal calls or animal sounds that we can't hear. So sounds that say come out of bats or elephants. We can't sit there in a lab and listen and break down these sounds and work out what they are, but AI can. It unlocks a whole section of animals that we as humans on our own can't understand.
I'm wondering, is this more about listening? The tech that we've got at the moment with AI is helping us listen rather than talk to animals. Are we there yet?
Yeah, so at the moment, I would say AI is sort of doing more listening. It's analysing calls and trying to find patterns that can help us understand behaviour. So say, for example, with whales, you notice, okay, I hear this series of clicks quite often. It's then also giving AI videos of whale behaviour so it can map different clicks to different whale behaviours. Then once we've got that, what we could do is start playing clicks back to whales and seeing if they behave differently according to what the click is. So say, for example, maybe we work out that this pattern of clicks means danger, there's a boat approaching or something. If we play those clicks to a pod of whales, do they then behave as we expect them to? And that, I would say, then kind of becomes more like talking, right?
Yeah.
Rather than just listening. So that's kind of the hope. Those are the next steps.
Yeah, that's really interesting. What would you say if you could talk to a whale?
I don't know, so many things. I think I'd say sorry. We've done such a bad job of looking after you in the past. And I think I'd also say, watch out. Not all the waters are safe.
Yeah.
Don't eat plastic. It'd be quite a depressing conversation, really.
I feel like that would be the best thing to say. And that kind of, it's made me think a little bit about this power to talk to animals and whether it's always a good thing. Obviously, we've heard about the different communication styles, the way AI is being used sometimes, but I guess there's must be some downsides to this as well, right?
Yeah, I guess it depends how we use it, right?
Yeah.
And I guess this is where we need to sort of think about regulation and what we do with, assuming we develop skills to better understand animals in the future, what we do with that information. Because I think that is a difficult one, because it could lead in, you know, completely opposite directions. It might lead to better whale conservation throughout the whole world, and suddenly they're back to how they were when they were thriving. Or it could lead to some countries, you know, luring whales into a corner and hunting them. I guess I'm optimistic, and I hope as humans we would be responsible with this communication or this listening power and do it for good.
We're definitely getting an idea of all the different nuances and sides to all of this. But looking ahead to the future, what do you think will be next for this animal communication technology? What could we see happen?
I'm not sure we will ever get to a kind of instant translation type thing where you have an app on your phone and you stick it in the water and you're like, okay, this whale says what's for dinner. I don't think that's going to happen. But I think we will end up with a much better understanding of the kinds of things animals communicate about.
Yeah.
Because AI is just, it's basically helping us do what we were doing before in terms of looking for patterns, but so much faster.
Caroline, thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's almost it from us, but I'm wondering if you guys could talk to an animal, any animal, maybe your own pet, what would you ask it? Make sure you comment below, like and subscribe. And before we go, I wanted to shout out some of the messages you've been leaving on our YouTube video all about Timothée Chalamet throwing shade towards the ballet and opera communities. It's had a bunch of comments. Julia says she's a ballet dancer in Milan and says ballet has been growing for years. She says it's because of social media and she wants ballet to be even more accessible. Thank you so much for that one, Julia. But for now, I'm Ikra. This is What in the World from the BBC World Service, and I'll see you guys soon.